Chapter 11. Fudblaisse. A month after the adventure in New Riverville, there were a few days left before the school Fudblaisse Cup tournament. Gavin and Roger had finally decided to participate in the team. And in the classroom, Roger asks Gavin, "Will we form the team?" "Fudblaisse team? Well, yes. Let's look for Rasmus and Aaron to sign up," Gavin said, and together with Roger they went to the cafeteria to look for Aaron and Rasmus and told them about joining the team. Hector and Arthur were also there. "Just in time. Registration will end soon," mentioned Aaron. "Yesterday I was watching the Lions game against the Tigers. We should do those same strategies and I'm sure we will win," commented Rasmus. In that, Hector, a boy tall, thin, dark, with short hair in a military hairstyle and, curiously, his birthday coincided with Gavin's. He sat at the cafeteria table with a Pizcet Times newspaper in the Fudblaisse League section to show his teammates the standings. "The Lions? Please. They always lose the cup in the last game. Despite always being the best team all season, the best thing is to use the strategies of the Dragons. They are the most winners with 38 Fudblaisse Cups." Hector answered, "No kidding. The Dragons always cheat. I would rather use a strategy from the Warriors or the Pines," said Arthur. "The best team will always be the Lions, but the ones who have original strategies are always the underrated teams like the Leopards, Sharks, Coyotes, Zebras, Bulls, Panthers or the Saints," said Aaron. "Well, are we going to play yes or no?" said Gavin, annoyed by the arguments of his favorite teams. "Shut up, Gavin," said Hector sarcastically. "No. You shut up," Gavin replied, playing along. "If we continue discussing the strategy, we won't be able to register the team," said Roger, annoyed. Well, Gavin. Which team do you choose?" Aaron asked. And Gavin took a sheet of paper and began to write his names: Roger, Alvord, Daniel, Aaron, Rasmus, Hector, Natty, Arthur, Maleth, Yasser, Elisa, Priscilla, Samantha, Larissa, who was an excellent Fudblaisse player coming from a place called Vampirania, Tefa, Nana and Jimena. There were a total of 18 players on the roster that had to be registered. Everyone agreed, and they went to hand in the registration with teacher Cindy Marks, and after that they requested the stadium to practice days before the tournament. Finally, the day of the tournament arrived. It was 8 in the morning on Saturday, August 27, 2004. The stadium was full. There were fans from all the houses. The box sector occupied by all the teachers and the director, while the fans of the Jade Clovers team, it was in the southeastern sector of the stadium. The 8 teams jumped onto the field. Then the director came out and gave a few words. She asked the teams to play a fair game. Teacher Cindy Marks took the microphone and began to give instructions about the rules that everyone already knew and about the tournament format. Of the 8 initial teams, 4 would advance to the semifinals, and the 2 winners would advance to the finals, which also introduced Professor Darrell to the center of the field. He was the official referee of these matches and was about to call the rivals of each equipment. "Good morning to the entire student community of Rhoda School. Welcome one more year to the Schoolhouse's Fudblaisse Cup tournament, one more edition of this prestigious tournament. First, I will present the teams and then I will tell the games and schedules," Professor Darrell announced, and then continued. "First we have the Scarlet Eagles team with their striking red uniform and black caps." Everyone on the Jade Clovers team turned to look with angry faces. "I can't believe the referee is a Scarlet Eagles fan. That's so unethical," Gavin said with annoyance. After Gavin said that, he heard someone respond to him in the distance. "What's up, Fowler? Do you already have excuses for defeat? Are you afraid of losing?" shouted Dan Lizard, who was captain of the Eagles team that morning for the tournament. Gavin looked at him, but remained silent. Roger approached him and muttered, Don't pay attention to him, he's an idiot. The tournament ceremony continued. Then we have the Jade Clover's house, with a very young team this year with only fourth-year students. And their nice green and black uniform, Professor Darrell announced again, from the stands, where the fans of the House of Jade Clovers were. They jumped and shouted with joy when they mentioned their team. There were banners with the names of the players, bugles, whistles, and everyone with things alluding to their team, be it scarves, balloons, t-shirts and their painted faces. We have the Black Knights, who this year will defend the cup they won the previous year, with their elusive black and gray uniform. Behind them we have the Golden Canaries, another of the favorite teams for this year, with their beautiful yellow and black uniform. On their right, the experienced team of the Violet Gems, who will try to take advantage of their experience with 11th-year students to win the cup, a very beautiful violet and gold outfit. Then we have the Sapphire Falcons with their beautiful sky blue and white clothes. This team is recognized for its individualities. Then we have the experts in teamwork, the Pearl Lions team, with its beautiful pink and black uniform, and finally, one of the teams that has wanted to grow in this cup over the years, the Bronze Bees with their beautiful orange and black uniform. Professor Darrell continued announcing over the stadium microphones, the games will be next. Canaries vs Eagles, at 9 in the morning. Lions vs Gems, followed by this one. Knights vs Clubs as the third match. Falcons vs Bees as the last match. Once we have the semi-finalists, we will draw the rivals again. Let the games begin. Professor Darrell shouted, blowing his whistle next to Professor Cindy's, and thus began another edition of the School Fudblaisse Cup tournament. Beginning with the match between the Canaries vs Aguila. Gavin and the other boys from the House of Clovers watched the game from their dressing room, some nervous, others eager to play while waiting for their turn. 45 minutes passed and the Canaries beat the Aguila by a score of 2-0. The Eagles looked upset when they entered their dressing room. They had lost the first game and were eliminated from the tournament. They had no choice but to wait for next year. The second match began, Lions vs Gems, where the Gems quickly, in less than half an hour, with a grand slam from a boy named Nathan Nest, won the match with a score of 4-0, advancing to the semifinals. Finally, the debut of the Clovers arrived. The boys were in the dressing room choosing the lineup that was going to play at 10 in the morning. We will play, I will be the pitcher, Aaron, Arthur and Jimena will be the outfielders, Hector, Maleth and Natty will be on the bases, Alvord will be the shortstop and the catcher will be Daniel. Gavin said while writing on a whiteboard in the clubhouse, come on friends. We can win, said Aaron with a leader's voice towards his teammates, we will play against the current. Champion. Let's try to surprise. The first ball will be ours. The first run will be ours. The first out will be ours. Everything is clearly in our favor, said Gavin. Our team has a lot of pressure to debut against the champion, added Hector. The pressure will go away. I just want us to have fun out there, said Gavin while motivating all his teammates before going out into the field, and gave them each a piece of gum from the Hallmark's candy store. Clovers vs Knights. Play ball. Professor Darrell shouted and the game began. The Knights began throwing. Their pitcher, Jeff Strauss, a light-skinned, thin boy with long hair, was very skilled at throwing the ball, and he settled in the mound. The first to kick was Aaron. Jeff threw the first ball, and Aaron, with the strength of his leg, made a perfect throw that hit right field. With this, he advanced towards first base. Jeff was upset about how he gave up a base for throwing the ball a little slow. Next in the kicking box was Arthur. This time Jeff threw a fastball, and quickly after 3 strikes, he took him out of the game. Aaron was still on first base. Then Natty was about to kick. Jeff again threw his fastball and Natty managed to hit him, however. It was a double play and both Aaron and she were taken out of the game. The 3 outs for the Knights were ready. The first inning ended with a score of 0-0. The Knights fans shouted, "It's time to tear them to pieces, we are the champions." After about 50 minutes it was the last inning, the stands were tense, the game still continued 0-0. Both teams made changes. In the last inning Rasmus and Jimena had already kicked, but there were Hector and Gavin left to kick. On the other side, Jeff had been replaced by a short boy with dark skin and crew-cut hair named Gregory. He was their closer. Gregory only had to get 2 strikes to get Hector out of the game, and quickly see how he could get Gavin and the others out, in order to finish the inning and go into the extra inning for them to win the game, since it was his turn to kick. Gregory prepared and threw a ball, but Hector, very clever, kicked with the inside edge of his right leg. A ball through the air at full speed was approaching towards the northwest stands. The outfielder ran to get the ball, but the sunlight did not give him good visibility, and finally the ball crossed the line. It was a home run for the Clovers and the section of their fans erupted with hubbub. The Knights bench was crestfallen and furious. They were 1-0 down on the scoreboard, and this condemned them to defeat and early elimination as the champion. When Hector walked around the diamond, he reached first base and went to celebrate with his teammates. Quickly the next to kick were Priscilla and Samantha, but both were taken out of the game with 2 outs that Gregory achieved. The Knights knew that the series was lost. There was 1 out left for the victory of the Clovers, giving the surprise, and the next to kick was Gavin Fowler. Gregory, resigned, threw a curved but slow ball, and Gavin kicked with all his strength and again managed to get it out of the stadium just as he had. Hector did it. The game was 2-0 on the scoreboard. The Knights fans began to leave the section of the stands where they were. On Gregory's next throw, it was his turn to kick Larissa, a tall, pale-skinned girl with very long brown hair. A peculiar hairstyle so she could wear her cap. Aaron told Larissa from the bench, "Remember the strategy you have to do to win the game." And it was that Aaron had told him that he should try to make 3 strikes by swinging the ball on purpose, in order to make the 3rd out and win the game. After the 3rd strike, Larissa achieves the strategy they planned on the bench and the last out fell, and the game ended. End of the inning. Victory for the Clovers over the Knights by 2-0. Leaving the current champions eliminated. That morning in the dressing room there was an uproar. Those from the House of Jade Clovers had classified the Seminole teams for the first time in history. Aaron, Gavin and Priscilla told the rest of the team to stay calm. They hadn't won anything yet. They should rest because the semifinal match was in a few hours. While in the dressing room, they took the opportunity to watch the game between the Bees vs Falcons, a quick game in which the Falcons easily beat the Bees. Once again Professor Darryl and Professor Cindy Marks made their appearance on the playing field to announce the semifinal matches. Now only the fans of the Clovers, Gems, Canaries and Falcons remained in the stadium. It was noon and the semifinals were about to begin after the few-minute break that the organization had emphasized in the itinerary. Next, Professor Darryl will announce the semifinal matches, said Professor Cindy, and Professor Darryl added, "Thank you Professor Marks. The semifinal matches are as follows: the Canaries vs Falcons, and in the other match, the Clovers vs Gems." Everyone quickly returned to the dressing rooms and the game between the Canaries vs Halcones began. In a few minutes after the initial whistle, the Canaries got rid of the Halcones with a score of 4-1, giving them a place in the final. It was 2 in the afternoon, it was partly cloudy, but without traces of rain and still with some rays of sun between the clouds. The Gems and Clovers teams took to the field. In the stands there were still some teachers in the boxes. The fans of the Canaries, Gems, Clovers and a few from other houses who stayed to watch the rest of the tournament despite that their teams had been eliminated prematurely. The game had started after about 45 minutes, they were in the last inning, the Gems were winning by a score of 2-1, Gavin was on pitcher. He had to quickly burn out the remaining Gems players so that the Clovers could kick in the another part of the inning and try to overcome the score, avoiding more runs from the Gems. Since they would not advance to the finals with this score, but at least it would give them third place with a financial prize of 20,000 rods. Second place would give 35,000 rods and the winner would be 50,000 rods with the winner's cup, which was a beautiful silver trophy about 40 centimeters high, weighed 3 kilos. Was shaped like a chalice with 2 ears to hold it in the hands. The trophy in its each ear had ribbons of the colors of the teams. Each team that was eliminated, the ribbons were removed until they reached the colors of the ribbons of the winner of the tournament. Professor Darrell as announcer and referee of the matches, every few minutes he was remembering the prizes for the winners. To which Larissa on the bench asked, "What are rods?" And Teffa on the bench responded, "It is the people's money, a golden coin with the coat of arms of the Pizcet City Council. And on the other hand he owns the value of the coin, it is used to pay anywhere that requires it, in Hanmark's sweet shop for example, Central Market. Everything is money, money. Money in this life. We would be millionaires if we win 50,000 rods, said Samantha. Obviously we will divide it equally, said Teffa. Continuing with the game. A boy from the Gems named Connolly was getting ready in the box. Gavin threw a fastball and Connolly kicked the ball, so hard and it went in the direction of Gavin. This one to prevent it from hitting his face. He protected himself with his 2 hands, causing an injury to one of them. He had dislodged his shoulder, he could not move his right hand. Which was the one he threw with. Connolly came up to apologize. Professor Darrell stopped the match. Madame Gabriel and Professor Helga Meltz from the student department took Gavin to the dressing room to see if it was necessary to take him to the infirmary. The game continued. Gavin was replaced by Priscilla as pitcher, and she would be in charge of closing the game. The inning ended and the game continued 2-1 down for the Clovers. In the last entry, Maleth, a tall, light-skinned, thick girl with short blonde hair, was getting ready to kick, followed by Alvord, Rasmus, Priscilla, and Aaron. The Gems changed her pitcher and placed a girl named Laura Dietz. A tall girl, with blonde hair and dark skin, the muscular and fibrous legs that she had attracted a lot of attention. In the dugout everyone supported and at that point Nana, another of the girls on the team said, "The rival changed their pitcher for that girl, don't let her beauty distract you." Aaron was chosen as team captain that afternoon after Gavin's injury. The girl Laura began to make too many errors in throwing, giving balls to the Clovers, so they ended up on base for balls. The Clovers had the bases loaded, and Aaron's turn was next. "Laura, what the hell are you doing? Focus!" His teammates shouted at him from the bench. Aaron stood in the kicking box. The only thing in his mind was throwing the ball into the stands, that would give them a grand slam, giving them the victory. Laura threw several balls, getting strikes and some balls. There were 2 balls and 2 strikes at the time. On Laura's next pitch, the ball was going extremely fast, but a little grass and dirt on the field made it rise a little. And Aaron with all his strength made a shot, but the ball rose and went to the other side, and he achieved the unthinkable. He made a grand slam. The boys who were on base started to run. The game was over. Victory for the Clovers 5-2 against the Gems. The Gems bench couldn't believe it. There was an uproar in the stands, and the Clovers team was running everywhere on the field. Celebrating their passage to the final of the tournament, they all congratulated each other and quickly went to the dressing room. Let's see the state Gavin was in after the injury. Professor Darrell informed that there would be a short break and at 4 in the afternoon, it would be the final between the Canaries and the Clovers. Once in the dressing room, Gavin had his arm bandaged, he couldn't move it. Guys, I'm out of the final, I won't be able to play. My arm won't recover in a few weeks, said Gavin while holding his arm. Oh no. What do we do now? Asked Samantha. Keep having fun as you like. I said, I'll be on the bench, we've already come a long way, we've won a very good prize, I'm proud of everyone. No matter what happens, said Gavin. The 15-minute break passed and both teams were ready for the game. In the end, it was a spectacular afternoon. A cloudscape adorned the stadium that afternoon, and the artificial lights turned on. Gavin's injury was still on everyone's mind, many could not concentrate. Alvord would be the pitcher in the final and Priscilla would close the game. The kicking strategy was going to be the same and that's how the game began. The Clovers quickly went up 1-0 with a great run by Aaron. Alvord would return to the mound again in the second inning. Many things were happening in his head at that moment. His friend's injury, the prize, the pressure to maintain that 1-0 with which they were winning. It was a war of thoughts in the head of Alvord who could not concentrate, and in that inning, all the balls he threw became balls, which caused a gift of bases to the other team. He made those mistakes for about 10 minutes. Daniel Black was at catcher and yelled at him, "What's wrong with you? You know how to throw well, you have to take these guys out of the game. Don't give them bases." But Alvord could not concentrate after that. The pressure continued to rise and in a few minutes he had conceded several runs, a serious mistake, making the game a 13-1 score, ending it and losing the cup in the final. The Canarios were winners of the Rhoda School Fudblaisse Cup tournament.